In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to design a very simple wedding invitation card like this. And this is coming up. Hello everybody and welcome to the channel once again. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, please hit on the subscribe button. If you're old here, thank you so much for showing up. Here are a few resources that I'll be using in this particular video. I'll leave a link to download it in the description in case you want to download and then you follow suit. To make this tutorial very simple, I've already typed out a text, so I'll be just copying and pasting them. Now let's get into Photoshop. First off, we're going to create a new document. So we go to File and then New, and then we're going to create a new document. Over here, you can select the international paper. For the size, I chose to go for A5 right over here, and then you click OK. Now the next thing that you're going to do is you go to the View, New Guide, and we're going to add a guide that is practically going to guide us to how to position our text and everything. So you're going to type in 50% on the vertical axis and then you click OK. Now the guide is here and ready. The first thing that we're going to add is a solid color. Now we add a solid color because you realize in the intro I showed you two particular designs. So in this case I'm going for this blue. At the end of the video I'll try to just change the solid color so that you realize how different it is. Now you go ahead and then you click OK and then you are good to go. You go into your resources. I have this particular abstract background that I got from Google. I'll drag and drop it inside of Photoshop and I'll leave it over here. Now open it up just like that and then you can drag it to this side. You double click on it and you're good to go. Next off, you right click on this particular layer and then you rasterize it. You're going to press Ctrl Shift and then U to desaturate this particular image because we don't want to keep the color. Now you go ahead to the blending mode over here and then you're going to set this one to either soft light or overlay, anyone that works for you. But then you realize that the overlay has a kind of darkness. The darkness is very deep for the overlay, whereas the soft light comes in very kind of light. So let's maintain the overlay. You can choose to decrease this opacity if it feels too dark for you as well, but let's keep this particular opacity and let's move on to the next one. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the rectangle from here and we're going to create a rectangle around this side. So you can basically create a rectangle like this and then you can press Ctrl T to try and transform it to make it come in the middle a little bit like that. Now you double click on this one, you press Ctrl A if you are using CS6 and then you can position it in the middle both horizontally and vertically. You press Ctrl D to deselect it and then we're going to decrease the fill over here. So you decrease the fill to 0%. You right click on this one, go to the blending options and then we're going to add a stroke to it. Now you click on the stroke from here and then at this portion you realize that we have the fill type and then you can click on that. Now the color gives you a solid color and then the gradient will give you a gradient, as simple as that. So first off, let's change this particular size to about 10 and depending on the type of paper that you use, this might kind of change. So we're going to change this one to gradient because I don't want to use a fill color, and then you realize that it opens the gradients for me. So I choose my gradients from here and I use this huge bunch of gradients over here. This particular gradient is from one of the gradient packs that I downloaded online. I'll try and find the pack and then add it to the resource, but if I don't, it's just a matter of picking a particular color. Say this particular color, you choose this one and then in the next one you can copy the color from here, you copy the color code and then in the next section you realize that you go up or down of that particular same color and then you try to repeat the pattern and you should have something like this. So you click OK from here and at the angle here we're going to try to change it. So you realize that the more you drag it, the more it changes position. So what worked for me was -50. You can try your luck. Okay, so once you're done with that, you go ahead and then you click OK and then you're good to go. Now you can still press Ctrl T to transform this one out if it feels so big and too open. And then you double click on this. When you are done, we're going to cut a portion of this particular rectangle, but in order to save ourselves from any mess, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this particular rectangle and I'm going to hide the first one. So I'll right click on the second one or the duplicated one, and then I'll go here and rasterize the layer. Now once it is rasterized, we can apply this particular rectangular marker tool. And if you don't know why we rasterize, check this video. So you pick the rectangular marker tool and then you can create a selection around here, and then you can hit delete and you would have a space up there. So next off, you go into our resources and then we have this particular ring over here. You realize it from the first invitation card that I created, and I've been using this particular ring. I think I need to compensate the owner. So I'm going to bring this particular ring inside here, and I'll hold shift and then alt to nicely resize it, and then I can hold shift and left click and drag it to this particular place. So I'll just place it in the middle of the rectangle and in the middle of the document. So once that is done, we start to add our text, and then you'll be amazed to get to know that the particular vintage that I used in this particular video is a font. Yes, the first time that I saw it, I was shocked as well. So quickly, let's go for our font, and the font that I'll be using is called ALS Script. I'll leave a link to download it in the description. So you come here, you left click, and then I'll go into my resources over here, or my test resource, and then I copy the first one, which is the invitation. I come into Photoshop and I'll paste it. Now I'm going to press Ctrl T to transform this one out, so something like that, and I'll press Ctrl A, and then I'm going to center it horizontally. So once it is here, I just push it up on top a little bit like that, and then I can go ahead and duplicate this particular image. And to do that, you press Ctrl J on Windows, and then you can drag it down here by holding shift. Now this is where the actual magic happens. We are going to use the vintage font to design a very nice vintage over here. So you're going to select this particular text. So you go for the text tool, and then you select it all. Go into your font family, and I'll leave a link to download the vintage font. So when you install it, and check this video if you don't know how to install fonts, you're going to type vintage decorations, and voila, you're going to have something like this. So when you type anything, any single alphabet on the keyboard, it is going to give you a particular set of vintage. So this is for Q and up to M. Every single one of them, it has a nice vintage attached to it. So if you are using the QWERTY keyboard, right from Q to M, you would have a vintage for any of them. And even for the numbers 1, 2, 3, you would have a vintage for each one of them. So what worked best for me was U right here. So I just typed U, and then I press Ctrl T to transform it. And the advantage of using this particular type of vintage is that it is a text file, which means that it is a vector file and you're not going to lose the quality. So I'm going to position it in the middle, and I can drag it on top over here. Now this video is going to be a lot of copy and paste. So I'm going to copy the invitation over here by pressing Ctrl J again, and then I'll drag it down over there. Now I'll go into my resources. I have this particular set of text, and I'm going to copy that. I'll come into Photoshop, and I'm going to paste it right over here. I don't want to use the same font, so I'm going to get a new font called Railway. A link to download it will be in the description. So I'm going to scale this one down. If you place your cursor here, you can scale it down, and I'm going to take over here to get it done, and then I'll try to use the transformation controls by pressing Ctrl T to transform that one out. And I'm going to select it all again. Go to the boldness over here, and I'm going to try to select this particular medium italic, or that is too bold. So let's go for the regular italic over there. So you can press Ctrl T and you can open it up. Now mind you, this particular invitation, the colors were peach and then dark blue. So the color that I'm using right over here is called peach, and this is the hex code. So you click OK, and then OK from here. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add their names to it. So Basically, you're just going to copy this one again. So you press Ctrl J to duplicate it, and then you can drag it over here. You select it all like this, and then you can change this boldness back to something like medium or semi-bold. So let's try medium, and then semi-bold is here. Now let's go into the text, and we have Kenneth right over here. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it over here, but I want it in the caps lock, so it's going to be Kenneth over here. And then I'll choose my move tool, press Ctrl T to transform it, and then I can open it up a little bit like that. Now for the second part of the name, we want to use the first font. So you go pick your font again, you right click, and then you select the invitation, you press Ctrl J, and then you can drag it right underneath of the Kenneth over here. So from there, we're just going to replace this particular text with the next name, which is Asante. So I'm just basically going to type it, so right over here, Asante, and then you can press Ctrl T to transform it out like this. Now the next thing that we're going to do is, it has the same pattern with that of the lady, so we're just going to select the two. So let me bring this one here, Kenneth and Asante. I select it by holding Control, and then I'll press Ctrl J to duplicate that. I'll drag it over here, somewhere around here like this. And when you go into this particular one, you realize that it has switched a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this one down here, and then I'm going to push this one on top over there. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring something in the middle of these particular two names, and it is going to connect them. So to do that, I'm just going to type something here, and I'm going to type the and sign like that, and I'm going to change that one to white color. I was trying to use the peach color all along, but you can just try different colors as well. And I'm going to press Ctrl T here, transform it out like this. I'll press Ctrl A to select it all, and I'm going to center it horizontally. Now I'm going to position it over here somewhere like that, and I'll go for my rectangle tool from this side. I'm going to draw a rectangle, a very simple one. So very simple and nice rectangle. Let me zoom in so that you can see it clearly from here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that one also, the color to, let me try and go for something like the gold color over here. That is the one around the edges, so I'm just going to go for this one. And when it happens that way, let me just try and change this particular color as well. So I think it blends well with, instead of the white, it makes it, because the white is almost like the peach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the rectangle, right click on it, and rasterize the layer. Now I'll go to filter, blur, and then I'm going to use this particular motion blur over here. I doubt a lot of people use this, so I'm going to increase the distance over here to create the kind of motion around it, and I'm going to click OK. From there, I'm going to duplicate that, so you press Ctrl J, and then you can hold Alt, and then you drag this to the right side. Once it is done, this end has connected the two, so we can move on to the next section. So right from there, we're just going to select everything from here, the Asante, and to the rectangle, copy two, and we're going to press Ctrl G to group them. Now we group them in such a way that we can easily transform it, and then we can easily position it in the middle. So I'm going to press Ctrl T, and then you realize that that particular portion has been selected. I'm just going to try to transform it out a little bit like that, and I can push it up small like this. Now I'm going to press Ctrl A to make sure that it is in the middle, and we are good to go. The next thing that we're going to add, if you come to the test here, I have request the honor of your presence, and I'm going to select that one as well, copy it, and then I'll come into Photoshop. To save all of us time, I'm just going to duplicate this particular text and drag it over here, and I'm going to select it all like this, and I'm going to paste it. Now I don't want to use the railway again, so I'm employing my third font, actually fourth one. So I'm going to type Acrobat over here, the regular, and I'm going to change the color to white. I'll click OK, and then I'll choose my move tool, press Ctrl T to transform it out a little bit like this, and then I can press Ctrl A to centerize it. Now zooming in, you can see that I need to push this one up a little bit like this, so I'll choose the move tool and then I can push this one out. And that reminds me, there seems to be a kind of inconsistency in this particular design. You realize it from here and this side, so let me just quickly change this one, this particular text right over here. Now the consistency is back on. What I wanted to actually do was to change this particular colors to white. Okay, and then I change this particular one also to white, and then okay. From there, you just pick this particular request and then you push it up a little bit like that. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the last section of this one, and to do that I actually employed this particular vintage here again. So I'm going to select that, duplicate it, and I'm going to drag it down or way beneath here, and I'm going to press Ctrl T to transform it out. But instead of using the same U, I actually selected it and then I used Z. And I'm going to select it all, change the color to white, and then I'll click OK. I'm going to press Ctrl T and then transform it out over here like that, push it up, and then I'll press Ctrl A to make sure that it is centered. From there, I'm going to zoom in like that. You can hold Z and then you left click and then it zooms in. I'm going to duplicate request, the Anna, and I'm going to bring it down over here. Now I'll go into my test resource, and then you realize that we have this particular one over here. So I'm going to select it all, come back into Photoshop, and I'm going to paste it right over here. So from here, you can just transform it out some more like this, and then you can push it up over here. And then when you go back into this resource, you realize that we have the last one, which is the RSVP. You can select that one as well, and you can actually add it to this one. So you space it out and then you paste it just like that, as simple as that here. And then you can press Ctrl T to transform all of them out like this, and then you push it over here. I think this one looks way bigger, so let me just transform it out so that I can make space for this. So you try to basically push them up, and then you push this one to up like that. And then from there, you can basically select this one to make it stand out, and you give it a color. Let's go for something yellowish like the one we use up there, and then you click OK, and then OK. And the last thing that you do is you select this particular vintage font, you press Ctrl J to duplicate it, press Ctrl T to transform it, you right click, and then you flip it vertically, so it is going to turn upside down, and then you hold shift and then you drag it to the very bottom of the design. Now the last part of this video, which I promised to show you, is how you can easily change the background, and that is why we used the solid color in the very beginning of the video. So let's scroll down, and today forgive me because I couldn't actually group my layers, and that's so weird. So at the color fill, or the solid color if you want to call it that way, you can double click on this particular one, and then you can basically choose any color for it. Now let me see a color from this side, and you see this green looks super good, super clean with the yellows and even the rings in there. It makes it look so clean. I think I really love this one as compared to the blue black color. Which one is your favorite? And not this particular color only. See something here, if you drag this one or you select this one and then you drag it to the top, see, you can basically be dragging it down, and then you'll be having different set of colors. Wow, this one too looks good. Now you can be dragging it down. Now let's come to the yellows, which might not be really the best, but you can see that you can get a lot of colors. So depending on the type of color that you're using, you can actually select anyone from here for them. And then if you want it even way more darker, you can go a bit more darker and darker for any of the colors that you decide to choose. And yes, that is how you create a very simple wedding invitation card for yourself. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, kindly hit on the subscribe button and don't forget to hit on the like button as well. Thank you so much for sticking around to watch this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Innocent here, and bye.